Does JJ Reddick know what his job is? Now, to all the morons who say, duh, his job is to coach the Lakers, I'm not talking to you. I got no interest in speaking to you. When I ask that question, yeah, we all know he's a coach of the Lakers. Okay, if you don't understand what my question is, does he understand what the coach of the Lakers means? Does he understand what that means? And the reason why I bring this up right now is because as the Lakers go into this offseason, the players that they bring on, right, they have to bring it on with an understanding of who the coach is. The coach is JJ Reddick. What does JJ Reddick want to do? And all this may not matter if we didn't all witness JJ Reddick get to Game 5 in the first round of the playoffs and play 5 guys the whole second half. Right? He did not play his center. Right? And it makes you wonder if he understands what his job is. Because his job is to get the talent that was given to him ready for the playoffs. And if your team is obviously not a playoff team, your job is to get that talent up to par, so to speak. Right? For lack of a better term. Right? That's your job. And so we're entering the offseason. JSM and Laker Legacy, those 2 channels provided great names. You guys should go check out those channels, man, because they provided great names, one of which I was looking at, Maxime Renaud. I was looking at him because I saw him at the Combine and he kicked ass, right? But they brought up some names and it's like, okay, well, look, if the Lakers don't have to trade Doesnt Knect, and they don't have to trade the 2031 first, right? And they could bring in a Maxime Renaud, right? Or a Amari Williams, or a Tristan Vukcevic. If they could bring in those players, then all of a sudden we have assets that we didn't have to get rid of. You see, much of the reason why the Lakers are in the position they're in now is because we gave up assets for nothing. Alex Caruso. Chicago got Josh Giddey for him. Julius Randle. New York got Karl Anthony Towns for him. Ivica Zubac. Probably a third-team All-NBA player. And we got nothing for them. So, if you're talking about trading Doesnt Knect and a 2031 first, and a 2030 pick swap for Nic Claxton, what does Nic Claxton give you? 10 points and 7 rebounds a game. Does that sound intelligent to you? Straight up, I would not trade Doesnt Knect for Nic Claxton. Why? Because you could go get Maxime Renaud. You could get Tristan Vukcevic. You could get these guys. They're attainable. And you don't have to give up those assets. Value your assets. Stop thinking like a rich, entitled asshole. I get it. You're the Lakers, right? Yeah, that narrative. I hated that narrative, but I get it. It exists. Right? Well, time to stop thinking that way. And the reason why I'm talking to whether or not JJ Reddick understands his role is because the Lakers could keep assets or go and flip those assets they don't use to get a 10-point per game, 7 rebound per game Nic Claxton, or a 12-point per game, 8 rebound per game Daniel Gafford. You don't have to use a future first-round pick and Doesnt Knect for that. That's stupid. Hold on to your assets. If you're trying to trade for a center who averages 10 and 7 or 12 and 8, fuck it. Go find somebody, man. Clint Capella will come cheap. Go get Clint Capella. He averaged 9 points, 8 rebounds a game last year. Is that such a big difference from 10 and 7? I'm just saying, I don't know what they're thinking. And, I made a video about this. But I am just becoming more and more inclined to think that a lot of these talking heads parrot the narrative that Laker organization wants parroted. And I'm not saying that they're in cahoots. I'm not saying that they are deliberately told to parrot these narratives. But I do believe that the Laker organization understands who the talking heads are, right? The Trevor Lanes, the Alan Slewas, the Kamenetsky brothers, Anthony Irwin. They understand who these talking heads are, and they understand in the way the media works and what they're putting out, what they're laying down. These cats are picking up. And they're kind of doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing their job. If the organization lays it down, they get paid to talk about it. Right? I'm not saying the organization is paying them, but that's what they do. And I'm saying, yo, man, y'all got to buck that and let these idiots know, man, this shit is dumb. 10 points and 7. Yo, so let me get back on track. I asked whether JJ Reddick understands what his job is because, one, right, just look at Game 5, first round against Minnesota. You're telling the whole world, including your own team, only 5 guys are ready. That should have been an indictment of JJ Reddick, but it wasn't. It wasn't perceived that way. He got off a little bit too easy for that, right? And then you take the fact that in all these trades, they're trying to toss in Dalton Knect as if he is expendable. Again, go back to the beginning of the year, right? Go back to the beginning of the 2024-2025 season. Dalton Knect looked like the steal of the draft until he was sidelined because for whatever reason, JJ Reddick felt like he had to play Austin Reeves and Gabe Vincent. That's when Dalton Knect started going downhill. That's when he started to get inconsistent minutes. That's when his production didn't matter. It stopped mattering. It just didn't matter anymore. Because you could tell JJ Reddick was intent on playing Austin Reeves and Gabe Vincent. Even though at the time Dalton Knect was playing better than all of them. Dalton Knect was pulling some wins out for us. And he got worse as the season went on. Is that JJ Reddick's job? To kiss the ass or, bend the knee to the guys who management favors in terms of management is paying them and their veterans? Is that his job? Because if that's his job, then I get it. That's not his job, though. His job is to get the players who deserve to play enough playing time so that they're ready when the playoffs start. It's his job to get the number 3 seed. No, it's not. You could get the number 3 seed in the regular season and not be a playoff ready team. Playoffs change. Right? If he hasn't acknowledged that the playoffs are different than the regular season, then the Lakers need to be gone with this dude. They need to be done with him. Right? If you are coaching a regular season game during the regular season, when the best basketball is played during the playoffs, teams probably need to be done with you. If you don't understand that these easy-ass, simple-ass three-pointers are not the way to go, teams probably need to be done with you. Right? And so now you're hearing all these talking heads who, again, I think are picking up what the Laker organization, the management, is putting down. Now all of a sudden you're hearing these talking heads, come off that 3-point bullshit they've been talking for the last 5-10 years. All that shit they've been spouting, they just came off of it just like that. Right? And that's what the Lakers don't need. JJ Reddick should have had Dalton Knect better. Dalton Knect, he don't need to average 15 to 20 points, but he should have been a 15 to 20 point per game player by the time the playoffs came around. And he wasn't. Instead, JJ Reddick chose to make him unplayable. I'm not saying Doesnt Knect was unplayable. I'm saying JJ Reddick made him unplayable. Right? Two totally different things. And that's why I mentioned, again, second half of game 5, 5 guys played. According to JJ Reddick, no one else was worthy. Right? And then you got the one young guy on the team, Doesnt Knect. And started out the season kicking ass. Ended up the season unplayable according to JJ Reddick. Not that he was unplayable, but unplayable according to JJ Reddick. Right? Because if a coach doesn't play you, then the coach could start establishing the narrative, well, because he's unplayable. Which was bullshit. Right? So that's why I asked the question. Does JJ Reddick understand what his job is? Because going into this offseason, you could save assets and use those assets elsewhere if you're thinking that the center we need is a 10-7 center or a 12-8 center. You don't need to trade those assets for those type of centers. You could keep those assets and parlay them somewhere else. We fucked off enough assets that we should try to maintain as many assets as possible and use them in other ways. Right? Does JJ understand what his job is? Well, if you go get Maxime Renaud or Tristan Vukcevic or Amari Williams, does JJ understand that it is also his job to get these cats ready for the playoffs? Because he did not understand that with Doesnt Knect. I personally don't think he understood it with the team. He played a regular season game. If he would have played a playoff game during the regular season, the Lakers would have had a better record and they would have been more prepared for the playoffs. He didn't. In my opinion, he played to win in the regular season, and it bit him in the ass. Right? So, if the Lakers were to not use Doesnt Knect 2031 first 2030 pick swap for a 10 point per game, 7 rebound per game player, or a 12 point per game, 8 rebound per game player, right? And instead go and get Maxime Renaud and coach him up to 12 points and 8 rebounds a game, right? He's a 4-year senior. Could you coach him up to 12 points per game, 8 rebounds per game? And the answer is, I don't give a shit whether you can or can't, JJ. I don't care. If I'm Rob Pelinka, I am not trading Doesnt Knect even straight up for Nic Claxton. 10-7. Give me a break. I'm not doing it. I'm going to get Maxime Renaud or going to get Tristan Vukcevic and saying, JJ, this is who you got. Fucking figure it out, man. Coach these dudes up. It's going to be some growing pains. Yes. Coach these guys up and get them ready. Okay? If we trade Doesnt Knect 2031 first, 2030 pick swap, it's going to be for something else. It sure as fuck ain't going to be for no 10-7 player. You got to be out of your rabbit ass mind. It ain't happening. That's why I asked the question. Does JJ Reddick understand what his job is? His job is not just to coach. His job is to develop and make ready whoever you have on your bench. Whether it be LeBron James or whether it be Bronny James. It's your job to get those dudes ready. So that when they come in, they can contribute. And Tom Thibodeau, he got fired. But I felt bad about that. And I'll tell you why. Because by the time that series was over, he'd understood. He understood. He wasn't playing his players. He was playing 5 or 6 players all the minutes. He was doing that. But by the end of that series, he at least figured it out. And he started playing Landry Shamet and some of these other dudes, man. He started playing them, you know, and yo, man, they were ready. Those guys were ready, you know. And I felt bad because, you know, when people don't learn a lesson, they go through something and they don't learn the lesson. It's like, you know what, man? I tried. I don't know how many times you got to get kicked in the ass, but you know, you're just about you, and you're not learning because you just don't want to learn, and you can't help somebody who just doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to grow. Tom Thibodeau, that old cranky ass man, actually grew, and I was disappointed that New York fired him, because I like New York, always have. And I think he would have been a great coach next year. I think he'll be a great coach somewhere next year. Somebody should go pick him up because he figured it out. You know? He figured it out. Yo, I can't just keep running my guys into the ground. You know? And he figured it out. And it showed that he figured it out. And his substitution patterns and whatnot. Apparently he figured it out a little bit too late. But he figured it out. And, you know, when I look at the Lakers, and I was very disappointed in JJ Reddick. One, because Knect should have been better. The way he started, he should have finished the year averaging 17 to 20 points per 36. Easy. That's what he was on. We all saw it. He was on that. And he didn't. He almost guaranteed Knect's regression, not his progression. You know, and it all coincided with Knect being mentioned in every fucking trade that comes up. Like he don't matter. Like Knect is nothing. You know, and that's what gets me. You know, also, the fact that Jaxson Hayes didn't play in Game 5. Well, when you see that Rudy Gobert looks like Wilt Chamberlain for the first quarter, and then you see Rudy Gobert looks like Wilt Chamberlain for the second quarter, and then you see Rudy Gobert looks like Wilt Chamberlain for the third quarter, you had multiple chances to correct your way of coaching. JJ, I'm talking to JJ Reddick. You have multiple chances to fix that, and you just said no. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to show that I'm wrong. I'm not doing it. Well, when it gets to that point, who are you about? Are you about the Lakers, or are you about yourself? I know what the answer is. I'm asking you. I want you, when I speak on this stuff, right? I want people to think past the thought or past the title. You know what I mean? I want them to think past the simple-minded narrative, right? If you got a coach who says before the game, which is stupid to say before the game, because now all of a sudden you don't have to coach. You tell a player you're not playing in this game. Why? Why am I not playing, coach? Well, because we just choose not to play you this game. Right? So you tell him he's going to sit. Well, you don't even have to look his way anymore. You don't have to coach at all. Rudy Gobert could be on pace to score 120 points. And you don't have to look his way. You put it out to the media, you put it out to the player, you're not playing. And it's that simple. Game, set, match. You don't have to coach anymore. Right? You don't have to coach that player anymore. What kind of weak-ass, punk-ass coach puts themselves in a position that they think that's okay? Who does that? That is just stupid. Right? What if conditions in the game indicate that you should put him in the game? After the first fucking 7 minutes, JJ Reddick should have realized, yo, I actually do need him. I sit him, and this is the first game where Rudy Gobert looked like Kareem, Akeem Olajuwon, and Wilt Chamberlain combined. Right? See, does JJ Reddick understand what his job is? Fair question now, right? It's not just some, oh, he's coach. He's a coach. That's his job. Yeah, dumbass. No kidding. He's a coach. That's part of his job. Player development is part of his job. Team continuity, right? Does that all fall under coaching? Right? Well, he didn't have one other player to play in the second half of Game 5 of the freaking playoffs. Did he do a good job with that? You see what I'm saying? So, just going into this offseason, right? Much of what the Lakers should do is what they're capable of doing. But what difference does it make if you do those things if the coach doesn't understand what his job is? Right? If he thinks that the young guy is the fall guy, right? The young guy is a guy that should be benched, then he doesn't understand what his job is. You see, the Lakers could take, I'm not condoning the Lakers trading Doesnt, Knect, by the way. I think the Lakers should trade Austin Reeves. I think it's going to be harder for them to divorce from Austin Reeves. But I think they should trade Austin Reeves. They should keep Doesnt, Knect and let him serve in Austin Reeves' role. I think he would be better in Austin Reeves' role, actually. Right? But that's not what I'm hearing. And I do believe that the talking heads are picking up what management is laying down. Not that management is feeding them narratives or management is working with them, but I just believe they're picking up what management is laying down. Right? And I believe management wants to get rid of Doesnt, Knect. Right? But again, I'm just going back to what I started with, right? If you are trading Doesnt, Knect, fuck the 2031 pick. Just Doesnt, Knect for a 10-7 player who's 7-8 years in to the NBA, or a 12-8 player who's 10 years into the NBA. What for? Right? So the Lakers could actually take Doesnt, Knect, although I don't think he should be traded. They could take Doesnt, Knect in the 2031 pick and parlay that into something else you need. Not for a 10-7 player. But none of this works if JJ Reddick does not understand that when the Lakers bring in Maxime Renaud or the Lakers bring in Tristan Vucevic, even though you don't know their names, it's up to you to coach them up. It's up to you to get them ready. And if it looks like you can't get them ready at some point in time, then it's up to Rob Pelinka to change personnel. That's it. Right? Instead, we got a coach who did not play but 5 players in the second half of Game 5 in the freaking NBA playoffs. Again, does JJ Reddick understand what his job is? Because if he does, then the Lakers should abandon trading Doesnt, Knect in a 2031 first round pick for a 10-7 player or a 12-8 player. They should just abandon that altogether. These guys are not good enough on defense that they're worth trading for a 10-7, 12-8 player. Daniel Gafford and Nick Claxton, that's who I'm speaking of. They're not worth it. They're journeyman centers at best. Look, man, by the time you get to be in your 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th season, and you're putting up numbers like that, and you never really found a home anywhere, it's because that's about what you are. That's about what you are. Okay? What the Lakers are doing, and what I'm hearing, is they want a lob threat. And they want a rebounder and a decent defender. And I'm just like, yo, Jaxson Hayes is 1 degree below Nick Claxton and Daniel Gafford. Clint Capella averaged 9 points and 8 rebounds last year or some shit. He is on the same plane or 1 degree below Nick Claxton and Daniel Gafford. So then why are you even considering putting together a trade package for Nick Claxton and Daniel Gafford? That shit don't make any sense. You know? Yo, man, this offseason is contingent on JJ Reddick understanding what his fucking job is, man. It is. Because if you could bring in a young no-name and coach them up, then you could use whatever assets, whether you choose to keep them or whether you choose to trade, you could use them in another place. And after you fucked off Julius Randle, Ivica Zubac, and Alex Caruso, right? And it hurts because I was listening to Anthony Irwin today. I think it was Anthony Irwin. Anyway, he was talking about how, damn, man, you see these Lakers just littered all over the freaking playoffs and they're kicking ass. And what did the Lakers really get for them? Right? By the time the trade totally settled out, what did the Lakers really get for them? You know, and you start looking at it like that. Yo, for 10-7, don't go trading your assets for that shit. Don't do that. For 10-7 or 12-8, don't do that. Go find a young, 7-foot dude, good athlete that you could coach up. They're out there. They're out there. Right? Go find some 5th-year senior and put them in the middle. Right? Trade up. Go get an early 2nd-round pick. They'll be available. Go to one of these teams that got 4 picks in the 1st round. Go talk to them. Do not trade Dalton Knect for no 10-7 center. Don't do that shit. And whether they do that or not is contingent on whether management also believes JJ Reddick knows what his job is. Right? When you got LeBron and Anthony Davis, your job is not to win during the regular season. Right? Your job is to win during the regular season, of course. What I'm saying is a regular season ain't that's not what you're striving for. That's not the title. Right? You got Anthony Davis and LeBron James. This is why it hurt so much that Rob Pelinka sat out a whole freaking offseason. But you got those two. Your goal is not to make the playoffs. When you got LeBron and Luka, your goal is not to make the playoffs. This is what I want to see the Lakers do, right? And this is why the reason why I'm extending this is because I don't like to bitch and complain and moan and not offer a solution, right? Because I feel like that's what the big talking heads are doing. They yell what we need or yell about a trade, but they're not really offering trade packages. And what they do offer is not intelligent. It feels like something that someone else put in their ear, probably management in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying they're in cahoots. I'm just saying they're laying that down, and these talking heads pick it up. This is what I want to see the Lakers do. I want to see the Lakers pick up their center through the draft or free agency. If you trade for a center, trade something light. Trade because it helps somebody with money or some shit. Don't give up Dalton Knect. Don't give up Rui Hachimura. Don't give up the 2031 pick. Don't give up the 2030 pick swap. Don't do that. Move up in the draft Maxime Renaud, or go to Washington and get Tristan Vukcevic. And JJ, you're on the clock after that. You're on the clock with those dudes, man. Fucking coach them up, dude. You did not coach your team up. At least I believe they were ready. You didn't believe they were ready. You did not coach your team up in the playoffs last year. You thought they were unprepared and they weren't ready, or that they weren't talented enough. right? So coach them up, man. Somebody got to work. Somebody got to work, right? That's what I want to see them do. That's the first step. Draft or pick up through free agency or do a light trade for Tristan Vucevic, Maxime Renaud, Amari Williams, somebody of that nature. Go pick up Clint Capella. Right? He'll be available. Pick him up. Great backup center. Okay? That's one. Two, I don't want the Lakers to trade Dalton Knect. I want them to trade Austin Reeves to Houston for Jalen Green and the number 10 pick. Right? If you're going to give up the 2030 first round pick, give that pick up for that package. Austin Reeves and the 2031 pick for Jalen Green and the number 10. Right? With the number 10 pick, I want the Lakers to pick Derek Queen. That's what I want them to do. Rookie, 20 years old, JJ, you're on the clock. Motherfucker, you got to do something, man. When you have Luka and LeBron on the floor, you don't have to coach that much. Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, you don't have to coach that much. Them guys that coach themselves. Right? Everybody, Frank Vogel, he was a great coach. He coached us to a title. Motherfucker, you had LeBron James circa 5 years ago. People just don't understand how old LeBron is. You had LeBron circa 5 years ago. You had Anthony Davis circa 5 years ago. And then people want to talk like, well, Frank Vogel coached us to a title. Man, he was sitting in the seat when the Lakers got the title. Yes, he was sitting in the seat. Absolutely. Right? Just like Rob Pelinka was sitting in the seat when Dallas called and delivered us Luka Doncic. So yes, he gets the credit for it. Alright? Now could you think a little bit deeper now? Okay? Anyway, that's the idea of offseason for me. This offseason is contingent on JJ Reddick understanding what his job is. Right? Hey, we're in the offseason. What do you do, JJ Reddick? Are you still coach now? I know the players are training. What are you doing? Right? If JJ Reddick understands his role, then the Lakers could almost pick up an additional asset or two. Because they could fill a gap, a huge gap on their team. They could fill that gap with players that just need to be coached up. Does it work? No, I don't know. Nobody knows. The Lakers could go and trade for Nick Claxton next year, and Nick Claxton could be a bust. Nobody knows, right? What I'm saying is that what we haven't seen and what was proven we haven't seen is JJ Reddick not coaching up the players, right? Because Jaxson Hayes was deemed unplayable by JJ Reddick in Game 5. No other player outside of 5 guys could play in the second half of Game 5. And Dalton Knect looked like the steal of the draft until JJ Reddick started fucking with his minutes. And by the end of the year, Dalton Knect had regressed. Was worse than the first day he got to the team. Dalton Knect's a hard worker, a gym rat, the whole nine. And he was worse than the first day he got to the team. First game he played as a Laker, he was worse. Right? That's what we know about JJ Reddick. That's why I asked the question if JJ Reddick knows what his job is. And that's this video. Alright, y'all. Please like and subscribe. I'll hit y'all up again as this offseason comes up because, man, they're talking, man. And, man, I hate the way they talk. Because it's like they're almost just trying to just establish narratives. Get you ready. Greasing the skids. You know what I mean? Getting you ready to take whatever the hell they do. You know, and I hate that. They're prepping you. They're prepping you for what they're getting ready to do, and they're trying to make it sound right. You know, I heard him talking about Dalton Knect, just shitting on the dude, man. I'm like, yo, man, this dude, yeah, is he a 23, 24-year-old rookie? Yes. But the way he started and the way he finished, you guys are putting that on him. That wasn't on him. You know, so, and it needs to be said. So anyway, y'all be cool. I'll catch you next time.